Wow, so this is pretty crazy, and I really didn't expect this. But in yesterday's Democratic primary in the Minnesota's 5th District, which is where Ilhan Omar is currently serving, she barely eked out a win. I'm talking about we're lucky that she's pretty much still in office right now. It came down to be that close. So it's pretty bonkers to see just how close she got. And we're going to dive into what exactly happened. I'm going to break down the race for you, and we're going to talk about just how crazy and, maybe what can prevent this next time. But here we have the results currently that are in right now. This is House District 5, Minnesota primary results. It has been called for Ilhan Omar, so that is nice. I think this will be her third term now, because I think she was elected in 2018, if my memory is not mistaking me. But you can see the margin was shockingly close. So she got 50.3%, and her main opponent, whose name was Don Samuels, he received 48.2%. So that's just a little bit over 2%. That's what, 2466 votes, as it says there. So that is not a big lead at all. So just a measly 2%. This is far, far too close. And it's pretty crazy that it got this close, because there's only so few Justice Democrats and progressive Democrats in office, and Ilhan Omar is one of the highest she's the second highest profile one after AOC. She's very, very well known, so it would have been really crazy to lose her out of the House. It would have been really, really embarrassing, honestly. And so it's pretty crazy that she got through this. But what exactly happened? Who's this Don Samuels guy? Basically, from my reading of the situation in the case, a lot of this case has come down to very local. It's become a very local election, as well as to do with a lot of police reform and the defund the police movement. It looks like a lot of people who are pretty much most of the people who are voting for Don Samuels are pro-police and anti-defund the police. And so that seems to be the very dominant ideology that is dominating this race, and that seems to be the reason why. Now, one thing I want to say is a lot of people are saying that, Ilhan Omar defeated AIPAC here. Don Samuels, it doesn't look like really got any AIPAC funding, any of the pro-Israeli lobby funding. So whereas the last one, which is against some dude named Melton Moe, I think was his name, he got whopped by 20 points. But AIPAC had spent tons and tons and tons of money in that race. But it appears that AIPAC has sat this one out, so it doesn't have to do with the pro-Israeli lobby spending a bunch of cash this time. But I did go to Open Secrets to check out his funding, because I was curious who actually was funding him. It's pretty interesting. So when it comes to Ilhan Omar had more money, so she raised more cash in total. But when it comes to outside spending, which is super PACs that can spend as much as they want. If you don't know, when it comes to election regulations, you can only send $2,700 directly to a campaign, but you can spend unlimited amounts by just giving to a super PAC, which is a quote-unquote independent fund, right, political action committee, and then they can spend unlimited amounts of money. So if you're a billionaire, you could give $1 billion to a super PAC, and they're going to do outside funding on their behalf. Now, when you look at the outside spending, Don Samuels got $625,000 as compared to $53,000 for Ilhan Omar, and she actually had $130,000 opposed. Now, and when we look at some of these, groups here, you had American Liberty Fund. As the legend here says, conservative group is red, liberal group is blue, and then mixed viewpoint is the grayed out one. So the American Liberty Fund is red. You can see here, super PAC, $80,000 for this one. It has the Americans for Tomorrow's Future. It's negative $15,000. I don't know what that means. It says drain the DC Swamp PAC. That's 13.3. That's a red one as well. You got two more. You can see Law Enforcement for a Safer America PAC, Honoring American Law Enforcement PAC, 63. So this group is mixed viewpoint, but they're probably donating to both red and blue just based on pro-law enforcement ideology. Then this is a really interesting one. I mean, the red says conservative group. It's a red line. It says make a difference Minnesota 05. That's 625,000 super PAC. And I looked it up. This super PAC seemed to specifically be for this race, specifically for Don Samuels himself. So, it says here it's a conservative group. So it's conservative 625,000 in outside spending. And then you have this blue one, 50,000 Take Action Minnesota. So it looks like definitely a lot of right-wing spending in favor of this guy and pro-law enforcement. And so that's kind of the backdrop of the race. The backdrop of this race is it is about, the defund the police versus the police movement. Now, here's one thing that she really, crazy did. Here's something that's really infuriating for me. Okay. Here's from Daniel Morantz. He's a HuffPost reporter. He says, Omar clearly thinks that her enemies are underestimating her once again. With the base of young voters, she has decided not to advertise on TV during the primary. This is abso-fucking-lutely insane, okay? She's deciding not to advertise on TV during the primary. This is so stupid because young voters themselves will not be able to win you the election solidly. You're also going to need older people. And the vast majority of people are still going to be using television nowadays, especially when you consider that for voting, most of the voters are older people. And, in older, I'm going to include anything above, people, anything above 40 years old, 35 years old. They're mostly going to be using television still. And so, we know the 65 plus group is the one that's going to be the most likely people to vote. And so they're the ones using television and you need their vote. So why the fudge would you decide not to advertise on TV, especially when you have so much cash? This is another problem that I had with Bernie Sanders in his 2020 campaign. He barely ran any television ads. All of his ads were online and his campaign was focused on knocking on doors. And there's another thing. Knocking on doors and phone banking are cool, bro. Those are cool stuff. But you need to run television ads and you need to influence the media to cover your campaign more positively. And you need to also get endorsements. All of those things that I just mentioned, getting endorsements, very important, specifically local and national endorsements, but really especially for these kinds of races, you need local ones. But even Bernie needed like Jim Clyburn, for example, like a local endorsement. You need to be able to influence the media to, cover your campaign more positively. And you need to advertise on television. You need to run ads talking about how, Joe Biden was cutting Social Security. You need to show clips of him doing that. You need to, run ads of Obama saying kind stuff about you so that people know those things that he said about you and now they view you more positively. These are things that you need to do, and it really racks my brain and it grinds my gears when I see this kind of malpractice when it comes to strategizing for the election. Like, I can't tell you, do not do this, otherwise you're finna lose, dog. So this is really stupid, and this is a big reason why this is a big thing that's gonna, contribute to her losing ground in this election. And with this, if we look at the projections, it went from a 20-point win to a 2% lead. So that's, think about how much that is. How many percentage points of a decrease is that in your win? It's absolutely bonkers, right? So you need to start advertising on television to be able to get people to support your campaign. Also, Don Samuels received a bunch of support from important local figures, the mayor of Minneapolis, as well as like the Star Tribune, Minnesota Star Tribune. It says Mayor Jacob Frey did not hold back an interview with me tonight after the pro-police Democratic candidate he supported, Don Samuels, lost the 5th congressional race tonight to incumbent Ilhan Omar. Ilhan says our incompetent mayor gets upset when we talk about his failures, but as the mayor, he is solely in charge of our city, its police, and public safety. No matter how much media covers for him, people know our city is suffering because of his poor leadership and childish behavior. And that is true. She is a representative of the federal government, so she represents Minnesota in the federal government. She is not a state-level representative, ergo she is not responsible for things going on at the local level. That is absolutely true. So this is also getting dangerous. When you see a local election like this, a house race, and the people in that district are starting to turn on you, it's dangerous. And so I can confidently say that there's a chance that this could be Ilhan Omar's last election here. And so she's going to have to figure out how to get more support from people in her district. And again, I'm going to tell you, she really needs to make sure that she advertises on television because there are tons and tons of voters on there that she's not reaching out to and she's going to lose. And you need to be able to convince those voters to vote for you. So I'm telling you, man, just don't do that, bro. Don't do that. Mach das nicht. I can't believe you would actually do something like that, bro. You should be fired just for that alone. It's that's so egregious, so bad that I almost wouldn't even feel bad for you if you lost, because it's dude, think about how stupid that is. You have so much cash too. She raised so much money and you're not going to spend it on TV ads at all. What is wrong with you? I don't understand. But it would have been really, really crazy, really sad and embarrassing if she had lost this one. I mean, we would have lost, like one of the most progressive people we have in the House, in Congress, period. And, it would be an embarrassing look. But she's going to need to run TV ads, and she's going to have, I think if she runs TV ads, I think that's enough. I think that's enough on its own. I think she'll benefit in 2024 from it being a more national election. I read that Election Analyses has stated that it was a more national election in 2020. So I think she'll benefit from that. She'll probably survive 2 more years. But whether she'll make it in 2026, I'm not sure. And she's going to need to run television ads. I think if she runs television ads, I think she'll be able to win on that alone, though. I don't think she really needs to do anything else other than just run television ads. But you also want to try to make sure you make inroads with those politicians and stuff in your area, because otherwise, you're going to end up losing.